Welcome back, the place where Hollywood's secrets don't stay buried, and the stories they wish would disappear somehow end up right here on your screen. If you're a new to realistic TV exposed, hit that subscribe button because today's investigation gets dark, gets messy, and might just connect more dots than anyone expected. Now let's get into it, and if you work anywhere near this town from studio lots to late night writers' rooms, this one is going to feel uncomfortably close to home. When Diddy's arrest hit headlines last September, Katt Williams saw an opening, and he did not waste it. He jumped straight onto Instagram stories, reshared an AI mashup of Puffy's mugshot blended with Wesley Snipes from New Jack City, and captioned it "Diddy about to snitch on everybody." That wasn't just a meme, it was Katt throwing gasoline on a fire the whole industry was already whispering about. A club Shay. Yeah, I was trying to do something there that hadn't been done. I thought that I had figured out the algorithm mathematically. And I thought that I could show that, and when I wrote it out, I wrote it out to kill the careers of the people I was talking about, right? But it was so vicious that I erased all of the knockout blows and just left the jabs so that the comic I am talking about knows that I know your real story. Mother Emma, tell this, but you know what else I know. Do you want to tell any of those stories now? Well, I am saying. The joke exploded, online comments flooded in, memes went viral, and the internet did what it always does, it ran with the idea. Because if anyone in the industry was going to flip to save himself, most people assumed, yeah, it would be Diddy. But here's where the story gets interesting. Katt didn't stop at one punchline, he didn't move on to another random joke. No, Katt has been doing this for years. And if you go back, a lot of people in Hollywood now admit they wish they had listened sooner. I've had to turn down 50 million 4 times just to protect. Go back and listen to his older interviews and podcast appearances. He casually dropped names that seemed random at the time: Tyler Perry, Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey, Ludacris. People thought he was just messy or bitter, another comedian airing grievances for shock value. But then something shocking happened. Some of the exact same types of names Katt has been calling out for years started showing up in lawsuits, affidavits, and federal filings tied to Diddy's alleged behavior. So Katt Williams said it. The lawsuit started coming out right after he said it, and he said all would be exposed, he heavily implied. And this is again an allegation that Lucien Grange was having some sort of a homosexual relationship with Diddy. So he is the person that controls Diddy, that Lucien Grange was aware of these parties, that Universal Music Group was aware of these parties, essentially, that Diddy is the thug and the gangster working on behalf of Lucien Grange. They did not know that he was reporting them. I mean, when I read through that lawsuit, Rodney made it very clear that he had hidden cameras. And if you are a person like LeBron who says ain't no party like a Diddy party, you got Ashton Kutcher talking about what happens at Diddy parties stays at Diddy parties. And finally, you learn via the press that actually Diddy has been collecting evidence on all of you, and you don't know where those tapes are. That will buy your silence for quite some time, because you're hoping that if you keep your head low, you're not going to be revealed as one of these people that was engaged in some of these acts. Whether they were heterosexual or homosexual, it does not matter. Maybe you're just cheating on your wife, and you don't want that to get out into the public. Maybe you were, as Katt Williams described it in one of the rooms. He said you could just walk around the house. He said this on stage years ago, that you could walk around the house and you would see people engaged in various sex acts. And again, Katt Williams was someone who was dismissed as crazy and dismissed as a drug addict. And it turned out that, or it seems that, if these allegations are proven to be true, and I believe they are, then he was telling the truth. Jay-Z, Aaron Hall, Harv Peer, more names are now appearing in actual witness statements and federal court documents tied to Diddy's case. Meaning Katt wasn't just talking, he wasn't just clowning, he was planting clues in plain sight. And today we are connecting the dots between what sounded like stand-up comedy and what now looks like a federal scandal unfolding in real time. Do you think that stars get offered that kind of thing, like to compromise themselves sexually for entertainment? I was as shocked as anybody about how powerful Harvey Weinstein was at the time that I was meeting with him, and how he could not be told no. You follow what I am saying? They will figure out some way, right? So I thought that didn't apply to me, cause I don't care about nothing but good business right in these scary situations. I don't even leave it up to me, like I am going to do what the superhero would do in this part of the movie regardless. That's a good way to think about things in general. Yeah, what would the superhero do? That line hits different when you remember what actually happened with Harvey Weinstein in real life. For years, people in Hollywood whispered about his behavior. But it took the New York Times and the New Yorker exposes in 2017 and dozens of women coming forward for the world to see the full pattern. Weinstein was later convicted in New York and Los Angeles. And that helped spark the wider Me Too movement that forced Hollywood to admit how normalized this kind of power abuse had become. So when Katt links those same power dynamics to other corners of the industry, a lot of insiders who used to roll their eyes are suddenly rewatching his old clips with a very different kind of attention. Katt started with Tyler Perry. On the surface, it looked like another classic comedic jab. When Katt joked that Perry can't play a man to save his life, fans laughed and moved on, but behind the laugh was a hidden truth about how deeply intertwined fame, access, and gatekeeping really are in this business. Few people realize this, but when Tyler Perry was grinding out his first indie scripts before the studios, before the billion-dollar empire, he was still fighting to get into rooms run by the same handful of executives who controlled black film. For decades, his stage plays built a massive touring audience long before Hollywood took him seriously. I heard that you bought a military base in Alabama. Is that true? A military base? As starving comedians would do. Now I don't know if you're being truthful or not. Did you really buy one? Yeah, Fort McPherson, yeah. I what because the thing that the reason why my life works on the golf course and off the golf course is because I follow instruction, right? Um, so if I see somebody do a good job, I just want to do a good job, yeah, I am going to follow the example. Right, so Tyler Perry got a military base. That's correct, made it into a movie studio and started making movies. Katt Williams, the military base, are you making movies? I am not wearing dresses. Yeah, I'm making movies. In real life, Perry did exactly that. He turned the former Fort McPherson in Atlanta into Tyler Perry Studios, one of the largest film studios in the United States, and the first major studio of that scale fully owned by a black filmmaker, Marvel Disney. And a bunch of big budget productions have shot there. On paper, it's an inspiring Hollywood success story. But Katt's point was that even these rags to riches stories often have complicated backchannels, unspoken alliances, and favors owed, things you won't see on a glossy magazine cover or in a variety puff piece. The narrative you want here in traditional press is that according to long-running industry chatter, powerful music and entertainment figures frequently helped shape who got early access to funding, distribution, and star-studded premieres. These kinds of connections between labels, producers, and studios are standard in Hollywood. But when Katt ties them into Diddy's alleged inner circle, people start reading the fine print on old deals in a very different way. Next up, Ricky Smiley. At what point in Tyler Perry's career was he Samuel L. Jackson or Denzel Washington, which are the only two black men I can think of that never had a dress on? Yeah, but I don't think it's about. At one point, it is about that. It is about that because he's the only black man that we already established has $1 billion for making movies. He's the only black man with his own studio. But he's also putting out material where he got a goddamn dress on every. Because every time you turn around at every iteration of his success, be it the plays that took over and got him popular, be it the stuff that he did on TBS, be it the first movies that he did, be it the movies that he does now, so why, what is his excuse for doing media content now? Because there's an audience for it, there's an audience for it. There is an audience for it. People think Ricky just stumbled into comedy fame, but insiders know the truth. Ricky learned the ins and outs of the business at private industry gatherings in Atlanta spaces, where music moguls, comedians, radio execs, and television producers mixed off the record, not public events, not open-door mixers. These were invite-only nights where powerful crews controlled the list, the room, the energy, everything. Ricky got on that list from there. He worked his way into radio, television, and national fame. Just like countless other comics who went from local mornings to syndicated shows. So when Katt joked that Ricky only shines in a dress, it wasn't just a cheap shot, it was a jab at how he believes Ricky rose through an industry pipeline, controlled by the same kind of power structure. Katt keeps pointing at long before many of these people ever picked up a national mic. And oh no, Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer aren't immune either. Tyler Perry told his male actors they were not allowed to consort with me because I saw you at a Diddy party, Tyler, and you were having a glorious time. I spent a lot of time in Miami and I snuck around Star Island quite a bit. I know Christian isn't lying, but I need him to tell me what happened to my friends. And I don't care how long it's been since I talked to them, they will always be my friends, always. Tim and Durant and Lamon Rucker were not the same after they went on camera with Tyler Perry. Christian, I think you can tell me why. Katt accuses Steve Harvey of stealing one of his old TV ideas and claims Cedric lifted one of his best jokes nearly 20 years ago. Those jabs make for viral headlines, sure, but the real message wasn't about comedy beef. Katt was pointing straight at their proximity to serious power. Both Steve and Cedric have stood on stages funded or supported by major labels and moguls, hosted high-end charity galas, fundraising dinners, and black tie events, where millions were raised for education, youth programs, and community outreach. On the surface, it looks like feel-good philanthropy. Hollywood loves a redemption arc, a scholarship check, a photo of a celebrity in a tux shaking hands under chandeliers. But behind those polished smiles, it's also alliances being solidified, partnerships strengthened, and a network of influence quietly stitched together, one handshake, one toast, one sponsorship at a time. And the deeper you look, the more you see that this network doesn't stop at Hollywood or hip-hop, it even stretches into the church. T.D. Jakes once preached at a major gospel event promoted by secular entertainment teams. If you watch footage of some of those big-ticket faith conferences, the production value looks almost identical to an awards show. Pre-party VIP sections, press walls, camera crews, and industry faces in the front rows. Jakes himself has produced or executive-produced mainstream films like Woman Thou Art, Loose, Jumping the Broom, and Heaven Is for Real, showing how closely spiritual branding and Hollywood storytelling can overlap. So when Katt casually drops Bishop Jake's name as one of the big deviant players allegedly connected to Puffy's circle, it sounds wild at first. But then you remember how much crossover there really is between megachurch platforms and entertainment power brokers. Googled you to see what are the questions that people are wanting to know. Is Ricky Smiley married? No. Have you ever been married? I was married. I was married for 12 years. When, man? I was married back in the 90s. I think we probably had met and had been around each other, but my ex-wife, we were still close. She's a flight attendant for Delta. And we was married, we was young, and I was married for 12 years. Well, I had a she's beautiful. And why all broke up after 12 years? Because you start doing Honey and Streets starting. Oh no. Because Katt wasn't exposing random people, he was exposing what he sees as the architecture of Diddy's influence, a web-connecting entertainment business, philanthropy, and even faith, all under one dark, twisted umbrella. Kevin Hart gets his turn too as the so-called industry plant. Well, let's do it then. They going to put kids in jail for hitting a super soaker? What the hell they going to do? That would be horrible. Y'all be some pissy go that if you want to mess up the picnic. All right, Jaguar One got to go with all their works. Let me see that again. So we have Jimmy O. I got to say who they are. ABNERBROWITZ. Jimmy Iovine. Clive Davis. Barry Gordy. Liar Cohen. Now this is all his work. U2 music, forget that Jew. So his all his, you say he Jay-Z, all that is damn near. Katt says Hart's rise wasn't just talent and timing. According to him, every major Kevin Hart move from Ride Along to Night School ran through the same circles of power first. Sometimes it's via soundtracks, sometimes via production partnerships, sometimes via the same agencies and gatekeepers who also had long-standing relationships with Diddy and other moguls. In the modern entertainment world, the phrase industry plant has been thrown at everyone from pop stars like Billie Eilish to rap artists who blow up too fast. It rarely means someone literally planted by a secret society. It usually points to the quiet machine of PR, radio, streaming, playlist deals, and strategic costings that elevate one talent over another. Katt's argument is that Hart had far more machine behind him than the public ever saw. Played the Aluda. No, so we were both invited to an Illuminati. I am not mad about it. How much money they give? 200. Sir, Fast and Furious on what number right now? 10 or more. Did you start to worry any about your own safety and stuff? Well, what it was that I was attempting to do was impossible. So before I do this interview, there is no Illuminati. It's just a joke. It's just something that crazy people talk about. There's no such thing as our side and God's side. And none of that is even real. I got to come and make it real. So that's why when I said that nobody came out and went, that's not true. I am on God's side. If part of the ritual is wearing a dress, then we should be able to look through entertainment and see all of these people being made to wear a dress. Yeah, you don't see the dog catcher show up every other. I guess not a thing. In a nice skirt, or you don't see an electrician come up in a blouse every now and then. Sometimes through distribution deals that just happen to back Hart's stand-up specials, or through studio partnerships that repeatedly favor the same handful of comedians for tentpole roles. Those patterns don't look accidental, they look like a roadmap, one that shows Kevin Hart's climb to superstardom ran parallel to these powerful empires, not separate from them. And what was allegedly exchanged behind the scenes, only Katt claims to know. New revelations show that after Dawn Richard filed her lawsuit against Diddy, he allegedly bombarded his former bandmate Kalina Harper with over 50 calls in one day and reached out a total of 128 times over 4 days. Prosecutors say that these calls were attempts to sway her testimony, part of a broader pattern of trying to gaslight and manipulate witnesses. Can you blame Kalina for distancing herself from the situation? She came under fire for posting that Richard's claims did not align with her experience, and some people criticized her for what seemed like defending Diddy. Given the pressure, it is understandable that she would want to clarify her stance, especially with Diddy reportedly trying to reach out so persistently. Apologize to this woman, she's a victim too. Then there's Ludacris, the name that made Katt go full conspiracy mode. Katt joked about Illuminati influence, saying only an organization with real power could hand Ludacris that 200 million Fast and Furious level deal. And sure, it sounds like classic Katt Williams exaggeration, but look past the punchline, and the real pattern appears: joint festival stages, collaborations on each other's albums, tribute performances for Biggie where their chemistry looked like they had been brothers for decades. Katt wraps it in secret society jokes, but you don't need pyramids or all-seeing eyes to see the truth. Luda and Diddy have been aligned for years, business aligned, brand aligned, industry aligned in Hollywood. And the music business, long-term touring alliances and shared festival bills often translate into shared access, similar sponsors, shared publicists, and intertwined label relationships. But here's the real twist. Justin Combs, you have been indicted with your dad now. Ain't that something, God, ain't that something? How LeBron Wright and his son will be the first father-son to play a game in the NBA, and Diddy and his son will be the first father and son to get indicted and go to federal prison for messing with little boys. Ain't that about something? The apple don't fall too far from the tree, y'all. And I tell y'all all the time, man, you have to watch what you do around your kids because they are watching everything. And in his case, man, he watched what his dad did and his dad allowed him to do these things with him. But hey, man, he was named in that indictment yesterday with those 120 people. You dig what I am saying? 25 of them being minors. But that's kind of crazy that a younger man would love a minor, but hey, man, I hope they was using condoms. About 30 different law enforcement vehicles. At least there are 3 Bearcats on scene here. This just all unfolded, Sandra, I would say less than 10 minutes ago. We got here even before the crime scene tape came up. So we are just down the hill. If you look up the street where Tony is right now to the right, y'all see one of those Bearcats and law enforcement. And on the other side of those bushes, basically, is that home that is registered to Bad Boy Films, which is part of. What does any of this Kevin Hart, Ludacris, Tyler Perry, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, T.D. Jakes have to do with Diddy's current legal meltdown? How does Katt keep dropping names that later show up at least tangentially in paperwork, witness lists, and online legal analysis to understand that we need to go back, way back? He said he turned down $50 million 4 times. No, he didn't. To protect his integrity and his virgin hole. No, he didn't. He did that to say that Kevin Hart took $50 million to unvirgin his hole. Can you explain a little bit? No, I just told you what happened with that. So you don't believe Katt when he says that he turned down $50 million for? No, I believe that was a punch at what Kevin Hart did for that movie Get Hard. He showed why all what he did, he sucked. Will Ferrell's Get Hard. Now he's hiding, now he's acting all hard. Every picture he's just short. Oh, he wasn't ready, all that it's the same thing. Because this web of alliances didn't start with comedy jokes, it started long before the cameras were rolling, when the industry was still pretending none of this existed. He said it, and this sums it up well: you don't entertain the circus, you watch it, right? And when the lion comes out and rides the bike, you don't think about it too hard, you just go, okay, that's crazy, the lion's riding the bike. And then you go home and enjoy the rest of your day. I don't feed into the stuff at all. At the end of the day, it's all entertainment to a certain degree, so you just hope that people can be smart enough and have a tremendous amount of logic to just go and possibly do research or fact check. And if they do, then great. If they don't, then kudos to that as well. I just don't have the time for it. There's too much going on. In my opinion, one of the ones that affects me the most is Justin Bieber. Do you have the Kevin Hart one, which is odd, Pat, because he gets caught saying that he would wake up next to him, and then he changes it and says we would fight over the frosted flakes. Even Kevin Hart is uncomfortable because you're admitting that you were sleeping next to a freaking child. And it's like I'm tired of hearing all these stories and people just laugh about it. We giggle like this is it right here. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up, and I mean damn pause like I mean back in the days when he was like 10. And I was a little bit older, his older brother. We used to fight over the flakes, you know what I am saying, before pause was invented, you know what I am saying. But it's my brother for real. We used to wrestle over the frosted flakes. He used to always get up early in the morning. Yo, what the hell did Puff just say? Nobody's putting down Justin for me, Puff. Just said we used to wrestle over the frosted flakes, and we are streaming live. That was. Federal agents raided Sean Diddy Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami, seizing electronics hard drives and stacks of documents in an explosive trafficking investigation. Then September hit, and the grand jury indictment dropped racketeering, sex trafficking, prostitution, transport for a town still reeling from the Weinstein, R. Kelly, and NXIVM headlines. It felt like another pillar of the old system cracking in real time. Jan 25, it's good to see so many funny people together in one room, all wondering the same thing: is Katt Williams gonna show up? I am nervous as hell right now. Oh, he's right there, there he is. I didn't know he was right there. I would not have said that if I had seen. Yeah, I am not used to quiet, introspective Katt Williams. No. Well, let me ask you this: when have you ever seen this many heavy hitters all together at the same time in the same room? Oh, yes. All right. A full-scale criminal empire-style case, but December changed everything. A court filing, so jaw-dropping it froze even the toughest reporters. Buried in those pages was a name no one expected to see: Sean Carter. Right, Jen is with me now to talk about another story making headlines today. Yeah, so this one is actually sparked by these pictures. That's 49-year-old P. Diddy with his hand on his girlfriend's belly. Now that is 22-year-old Lori Harvey there in Cabo. She's of course talk show host Steve Harvey's stepdaughter. People are talking about maybe she could be pregnant. You know, he's rubbing her belly a little bit, but she's put up some Instagrams I think that show some clues. Sushi, right? Sushi is a bad thing for pregnancy. It could go either way, but then also she posted this picture of green juice, which, you know, why would you want a flatter tummy if you really can't avoid it because you're carrying a child? Ooh, this is conflicting evidence. Okay, Lori was once actually linked to Diddy's son Justin. Okay. Okay, so they were together and then engaged a couple years ago to a Dutch soccer player. She told Carissa Thompson about how he popped the question. We were in Malibu. I remember the time. It was 11:30. I thought it was a joke. And then he went in his pocket, and I started shaking. They split up later on that year. Lori and Sean were actually spotted with her dad Steve on a boat in Italy earlier on this summer. That's all well then, that's it. He's given the blessing. They were together. Jay-Z, according to the document, Jay-Z and Diddy were accused of drugging and assaulting a 13-year-old girl after the 2000 MTV VMAs. A claim so horrifying the internet could barely process it. Allegations like that, if true, would represent one of the darkest chapters in modern music industry history. And they have sparked intense debate online about how far complicity in Hollywood really goes. So TD Jakes is on that list. On that list, and you know Katt Williams, I don't know if he's a Christian or not. I don't think he is. His mouth would say maybe he has faith, but he's bearing fruits of repentance. But that podcast got what, well over millions and millions of views because he just blasted the industry. And basically the whole thing is your career's here. If we give you money and you join in on this debauchery, you join in on this sodomy, you join in on this pedophilia, you join in on these rituals, your career will go from here to here. And that's actually been seen if you look at a lot of different careers, including Taylor Swift's. She actually started rubbing shoulders with P. Diddy a long time ago, and then all of a sudden her career changed. And it didn't stop there. Diddy's own son, Justin Combs, was accused of organizing freak-off parties involving underage girls. The allegations were so serious that federal agents handcuffed him during the raid, although he later faced no formal charges. Then came the witnesses. Former Bad Boy singer Kaylina Harper appeared in filings as a witness to violence against Cassie Ventura. Now we also know that TD Jakes is allegedly also a power bottom, and he's a much older man, and they say he's very enthusiastic in his endeavors. What happens when he pops something loose? You know what I am saying. It's funny because they are mentioning sex workers, but they are not mentioning women. They are mentioning men as sex workers. Yeah. Like, is that a thing where, like, there's a website? What, it's just wild to hear you mention the norm. Have you ever heard of Grindr? I personally have not. That is watching. Why don't nobody ever talk about the fact that TD Jakes has an account allegedly on Grindr? But the shockwave got even bigger because heavyweights like Jimmy Iovine and Lucian Grange were briefly named in some coverage for allegedly witnessing or influencing testimony. Grange has since been removed from the case, but the damage was already done in the court of public opinion. When Katt Williams sat down and rattled off a list of celebrities tied to Diddy, the internet thought he was ranting. But now many of the names he blurted out sound eerily similar to the names people are seeing discussed in legal documents and investigative threads. Coincidence in Puff Daddy's world? A lot of fans don't think so. These aren't Reddit rumors, these aren't TikTok theories pulled from thin air. These accusations, whatever ultimately proves true in court, are coming from court filings, federal indictments, and sworn statements. And as these cases move toward trial in May 2025, more names could fall, more secrets could surface, and Hollywood is nervous. This isn't just comedy anymore, this is evidence colliding with entertainment, and the town is sweating. We have watched this movie before with Weinstein: first the jokes, then the whispers, then the front page investigations, and finally the perp walk. The question now is which part of the script Hollywood is in with Diddy, and who else might be standing in the frame when the credits roll. If you're as shocked by these names as we are, hit that like button, drop your questions in the comments. Who surprised you the most? Who do you think is going to fight back? And who's staying quiet for a reason? We want to hear your theories. Don't forget to subscribe to Realistic TV Exposed and click the bell because the next chapter in this story is already forming, and you are not going to want to miss what comes out next. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.